Welcome to Ticket Stubs, a podcast for discussion, dissection, and disapproval for some of your favourite and least favourite movies. On this week's episode, insects, eggs, and throwing up on your boyfriend. We're talking about Bite from 2015.
Hello, boys.
Hello.
I'm Ciarin. That's Dane.
Hello.
And that's Ryan.
That's me.
How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Ready to talk about this.
Delicious movie? Was that the word you were looking for?
No. Delicious movie would absolutely not be the term I'd be looking for. Revolting movies, more accurate. On this brand new medium that hasn't been tapped out whatsoever.
Absolutely not. Every man and his dog definitely does not have a podcast.
And a topic that has never been covered. Movies.
So, how's lockdown treating you, boys?
I'm pretty bored. Out of all the movies I've been watching, I guess that's how we sort of came about with this. We've gotten into the real dregs of cinema, and this has been the worst thing I've watched lately. This Bite,
And that was my fault, and I am deeply sorry.
I don't know what you're talking about though, Dane. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
Did you hear about this before? Before I brought it to the table?
No, I had never heard of it. And you know what? I wish I'd never heard of it because I really struggled the whole way through. I'd said to you guys before that I have a really weak stomach for gross out stuff. Like I can't do the Jackass movies because it makes me I'm just a big old puss. And this movie I really struggled to get through.
I had only seen the poster. I'd never heard of it. I'd seen the poster though, but I'd never heard anything past that.
I heard about it 6 years ago when it first came out, purely because of when the premiere happened, people were apparently vomiting in the theatre and they had to call an ambulance. So that's when I heard of it, and that made me go, I never want to touch that movie with a stick. But then here we are 6 years later and I put myself through it and I couldn't eat my dinner afterwards.
But you know that's a mark of a good movie though, is when they have to hand out sick bags in a movie or people are passing out from, that's just the mark of quality.
Alright, so let's just jump right into it. So this movie is about a chick named Casey, who is honestly the only person in the whole movie whose name I can remember. And she's just returned from her bachelorette party in Costa Rica. She gets bitten by an insect in a waterfall at some point and is maybe not as concerned about it as she should be. And then she comes home and it gets pretty fucked up.
Yeah, things go sideways real quick.
It's a good plot summary. You should put in bold letters. For some reason she never goes to the doctor. We're not sure why, but maybe a little bit of antibiotics could have fixed the whole movie, but it is what it is.
Yeah, even after like blowing pus all over her fiance, she's still like, hey, you know what? It's cool. I'm all right with this.
Well, it was because I thought the movie was going to be found footage the whole way through, because it starts as this found footage hen's night for whatever reason. The villainess of the movie is just recording it the whole way through.
Yeah.
And straight away I'm like, well, that's a fucking dumb idea. Like recording evidence on a hen's night, and what have you. And then so there's 2 minutes of found footage of them having a good old gal time, and then it jumps back into your general normal everyday movie.
Yeah, it's very jarring.
It didn't make a lot of sense to me, I guess. I was really excited. I love a good old found footage movie. I think I watched The Blair Witch when I was 12. And that blew my mind. So I was like, hell yeah, let's resurrect the genre. There hasn't really been a good one that's come out recently. And that was the only good thought I had for the rest of the movie.
Well, I was actually going to pose this question to you guys. I was like, if someone was wanting to get into body horror, what movie would you say? What's the most digestible movie for someone who's like, I've never heard of this thing, I want to give it a go? Would you say it's The Thing? John Carpenter's The Thing?
John Carpenter's The Thing is up there with one of my favourite movies of all time. And I suppose that's kind of It's kind of like the most well-known body horror that I've kind of ever watched, or maybe the only body horror.
Well, plus you can't go wrong with Kurt Russell, and it's genuinely just good storytelling. You know, they're isolated. It's a totally foreign situation. You can completely get lost in it, and it's so intense because you're so confused as to what's happening, and you're guessing along with the characters. Like, it's just a good movie regardless of the body horror element. It's just that the body horror element's just like that little, let's get some practical effects and 100 chef kisses. I think of body horror, I think of The Fly. That one is a classic.
Yeah, the Jeff Goldblum version.
I'm sure you guys have obviously like heard of The Ring and The Grudge and all that kind of stuff. All the Japanese horror films, that's considered body horror as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I think The Ring is incredible. It's just a fantastic movie through and through. I think there's some good elements to The Grudge. Like some of the noises and some of the visual imagery is really good, but I don't love The Grudge. And I don't even think the American one's very good either. But I think The Ring is solid. The Ring's a very enjoyable movie.
Well, what you just mentioned there, Ciarin, about the thing, being good storytelling, should we discuss this dog shit story?
Oh, absolutely, my friend. Let's do it.
Yeah, she's away on this Tens party, and they wander off the path and go swimming. Gets bitten by this bug, and she comes home and she's not feeling super duper.
And I guess the bug, it's supposed to be mysterious, but where did it come from, and why is it underwater biting people?
Well, that would require a second draft of the script. But, it is only a 90-minute movie, and for those 90 minutes, it does hold its pace quite well.
It does hold its pace very well. It just, for me, it creates too many questions to enjoy the movie as it stands. Like, you can't just be like, oh yeah, this is great, because every time something happens, you're like, wait, why? What? Excuse me? Hello?
Well, she's bitten by this bug, and then gradually she starts to turn into a bug. And what I said to you guys many times when we were watching it is that I have a whole new appreciation for Spider-Man, because he's bitten by a spider, and the next day he's like got a 12-pack and rippling back of muscles, and everything's fine. Whereas she gets bitten by this bug, and it starts off as like a little bit pussy and a little bit gross, and gradually as she becomes this revolting insect, it's just pus and bile and goo and sick everywhere. And I was like, blah! Yuck.
It does.
I guess, so let's just start from the very beginning. So she's in Costa Rica. She's with her ladies. They're doing chick stuff. In a hotel room, they're filming the bachelorette party, and her friends say, we won't judge you for anything. We'll still love you no matter what happens at the end of this trip. Casey is unhappy on the trip, she's expressing, and throughout the movie she's expressing how unhappy she is in her marriage, and she can't decide whether or not she wants to get married, and something happens on the trip which jeopardizes her relationship.
Yeah.
but they're not memorable aside from Casey, but maybe that's because she spends most of the movie throwing up and clicking at bugs.
I didn't even know any of the other characters' names until I went on IMDb, because I was like, oh yeah, Casey, because her name's said 100 times in the movie. Then her shitty fucking garbage Jill, and friendly pal, and that's sort of it. There's no one else. It's only, I think there's maybe half a dozen to maybe 10 characters in this movie as well.
Their names are Jill and Kirsten, sorry. Jill is the terrible friend, the worst friend anyone could ever have, and Kirsten is the decent friend. But yeah, it's a bit weird. She's in a bachelorette party in another country with 2 other people. I don't know. They're so one-dimensional, the characters, and I think all 3 of us commented when we watched it. We're like, God, this found footage, either the acting's horrific or I don't know what. This is some next level acting.
And they ADR'd a whole lot of it, and a lot of it was really unconvincing because it wasn't even in sync with their mouths.
I didn't notice that at first, because I was about 6 or so bevy boys in by this point when we decided to watch it, because I knew that just from what I had read about it, I was like, I can't do this movie sober.
take a shot every time they're like, Casey, are you okay? Casey, what's wrong? I'm really confused about the timeline. The found footage confused me more than it did explain things, because I'm like, well, when did that happen and when did this happen? And it just, yeah, like I said, this movie just creates more questions while you're watching it than it does like explaining things.
It's very strange.
Back on track. She comes home, still isn't too concerned about her bug bite. We get introduced to the mum.
Yeah, so we first meet this mother-in-law, and she starts chastising Casey, and she says, a woman should never run out of laundry detergent.
I'm glad someone noted that line down.
I did. The dialogue is something straight out of like the Star Wars prequels or something. Like, it's actually, it's horrible.
It makes you uncomfortable. And then also to set the scene for where our main character Casey lives. So she lives in her future stepmother's apartment building where she's the landlord. She lives on the floor below her, but then her boyfriend Jared lives on her floor, on Casey's floor at the other end. And all the apartments look identical, but Casey and Jared have never spent the night together because the mum will know.
The mother is obsessed with protecting her 30-year-old son's virginity.
Yeah, don't give away your flower. It's like in Friends where he's got the broom and he's just like banging on the roof like, hey, you kids, you bloody kids, you come down up there.
You kids stop that fucking! Mother Jared does not approve. We should say as well, an additional reason as to why she's not feeling super confident about the marriage is that because she's feeling a lot of pressure from Jared's mum, the mother-in-law, for Casey to have a baby.
But to be fair, the mum, even though she is a nut job, she actually kind of has she knows her shit because she knows Casey is a bit of a flake. The mum knows what's up. Like, at the end of the day, the mum was mean and was a bit too much worried about the state of her son's dick.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But she had the right intentions because as we know, Casey wasn't really digging the idea of getting married. So we go a couple days. Casey's not feeling 100%. She regularly walks the neighbor's dog. I'm wondering, did they literally just introduce the neighbor and the dog so that the dog wouldn't go for a walk with her, so that we would understand that there's something going on?
Yeah, I don't know why we need a dog to tell us that something's up when we all know that something is up. But anyway, please continue.
She comes back. She's really second-guessing this whole idea of getting married to Jared the man.
Oh, it was very messed up too. When she arrives home and he's like, hey, I've got a surprise for you. And she's like, oh, cool, what is it? And he's like, it's this old baby chair.
And it was the shittest baby chair ever.
It was the biggest piece of shit.
It was the shittest baby chair I've literally ever seen. Like, imagine bringing back like this 30-year-old baby chair and be like, hey, I haven't done anything to make it better. It's probably all splintery and stuff. Let's put a baby in it.
It's just from council pickup on the side of the road.
And then being surprised that she's not excited about it.
What are you expecting?
So they have dinner, and that's when the copious amounts of spewing happens.
And we mentioned this the other day, the most shittest looking dinner there could be. Like, it looks like she threw up on the plate and served that.
Oh, God.
I would be late for that dinner, 100%. If I knew that was waiting at home for me, I would avoid that shit like the plague. That was nasty. It was 2-minute noodles with bolognese on top.
Also, she loses her engagement ring while on the trip. But then she decides not to tell Jared and says she's cleaned it, which comes into play a bit later.
And also, when they're eating dinner, her bug powers start to take effect. Like, everything is heightened, and it's just kind of a sensory overload for her. So she gets up and runs off to the toilet and be sick.
Yeah. He was like, thank God you started throwing up. Now I don't have to eat this shit.
But then, after that, all of a sudden she's very horny. And they start making out right after she's thrown up. I have no idea if she's even brushed her teeth after that. And it's just more filth to the pile.
She has a good old toss of her cookies.
Is that a term for throwing up?
You never heard that?
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, you toss your cookies.
Yeah, I've never heard that either. That's
Well, now you have. Congratulations.
You learn things every day.
So they start to have sex. We still haven't really gotten a full idea of what is happening to her or what the bite means or anything like that. And they start to have sex, and she has this like wound on her leg from the bug bite, and it looks like a nipple. They accidentally pop it, and it goes all over her boyfriend.
Yeah, he gets really stroppy when that happens, and she's justifiably embarrassed. So she jumps off, runs to the bathroom, and he's like, well, fucking never mind then, and gets all sooky.
Even after blowing her load out of her leg on her boyfriend.
Oh, don't.
She still doesn't go to a doctor. And her fiance is even like, you need to go to a doctor. And she's like, nah, it's all good. I'm sweet. I'm just going to go to sleep in the bath multiple times and it'll sort itself out.
And while she's cleaning out the filth from her leg, Jared's getting dressed and he's like, what? Is that it then? And she's like, yep, see ya. Better get out of here before your mummy finds out. So he goes home to do whatever.
Maybe he sorted himself out.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it's like, you're going to give me blue balls. I may as well.
While she was having a quick nap, he's like, well...
Well, when she wakes up on that bath, it looks like there's just... I don't want to be gauche here, boys. I don't want to be tacky. But when she wakes up in the bath and she's like sort of jumps up and realizes she's been asleep underwater, it looks like she has just bathed in cum.
She does it at least twice, yeah.
So she wakes up from her bath nap and walks out into the living room, and it's filled with all these strangers, including Jared. And everyone starts chanting at her. You don't really know what's happening. And then all of a sudden, she just bursts out like 10,000 bug eggs that go all over the floor. And everyone starts stomping and stamping on them, and it's this great big mess. And it ends up being a dream sequence, but it's kind of her buggy maternal instincts.
Yeah. And she's so upset by it.
Yeah, it's like she's got like, you know, like how people always talk about lizard brain, how people have lizard brains. It's like her bug brain was like awake, and she suddenly had like this maternal instinct over these little gushy boys.
Old bug brain Casey.
Hey, bug brain Casey. But like, we've been ragging on this movie for quite a while now. The practical effects on such a small budget are actually really impressive. I was actually quite impressed with it.
Yeah.
Casey, I've gone blank on the actual actress's name, but she was saying that when the transformation started, she was in the makeup chair for 2 hours a day, and then when she basically became fully formed a bug, it was 8 hours a day that she had to sit in the makeup chair.
I believe they won a few awards for best makeup and practical effects and the set. They won some awards for that, which was extremely well deserved.
They are. They deserve all the props. The makeup team, the special effects, the props, just everything is pretty flawless. Like,
didn't her contact lenses like blind her? Like she couldn't see out of them?
Yeah, she was, because the lenses, like they had these weird kind of Sith Lord yellow-eyed lenses, and like massive and whatnot, and yeah, they would temporarily like blind her. She couldn't see through them, so while she was wearing them, she had to have people guide her around this disgusting set.
Yeah, she looked like she was going to kill a bunch of younglings by the end of it.
Her name is Elma Begovic.
Right. And so I must say her bug acting is better than her human acting.
I was going to say, she's quite good once she starts transforming. Like, I think she's a bit wooden through that found footage and when she starts, like, when she's back at home. But once she starts transforming, yeah, she really gives it her all, and yeah, it comes off really well. She's quite good.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, there's a part where she's like, taking on the form and whatnot, and you see kind of a cockroach, and she's looking at it as a bit of prey and whatnot, picks it up and eats it. And I was watching in an interview where they had originally told her it was going to be a chocolate cockroach, and then she found out it was going to actually be just a real dried up cockroach. And like, no, we were just kidding. You don't need to eat it. And then during the filming, she didn't tell anyone. When she went to go and eat it, she just threw a live, dead, disgusting dry cockroach in the mouth, and everyone was just gagging and speechless on the set.
Yeah, wow.
She went full Daniel Day-Lewis.
She went full Daniel Day-Lewis.
Was she thinking that this is it, boys? This is the role. I'm gonna make it. I'm coming for you.
This is how I get to the big time.
Yeah.
And as like the apartment, because like you guys said, props to the design and everything, and it did look really good. It looked proper disgusting. But they built that set because they just didn't want to go and just totally fuck up someone's apartment. So they built that from scratch.
Yeah, I believe they used coffee grounds to make it real grungy looking, like rubbed coffee grounds all over the walls and the floor, and it really was really effective. It looked like a shithole. So she continues to transform into this bug. We still don't know what this bug is, where it came from, but she starts to get like special powers, sort of. So she can spew acid, she can supersonic scream and break glass, but at the same time her hair starts falling out, her body starts to deteriorate, like she looks like she's having a terrible time. The powers don't make a lot of sense. Like, it's compelling, like it's kind of like, oh, okay, cool, what's she gonna do with it? But they never really eventuate to much.
And like the movie's hard because you don't have timelines. Like you don't know how long things are. But yeah, it seems to happen quite quickly that the apartment goes from normal to this nest.
We know that it's like there's been a couple of days past because the little pussy fiance, even though he lives like, he's like, I live 50 feet down from you and I haven't seen you. I suppose it takes all place in less than a week.
It sounds like he's lazy.
I was going to say, use your legs. What's your excuse, bloody Ciarin?
If he lives above her, like what? He just stopped by on his way up to his room. Like, you'd think.
Just the strangest relationship.
This is where things start to get interesting because everybody starts to check on her and see how she's doing because it must have been a while. And that's when people kind of start getting picked off one by one. The mum comes in and she has a go at her for ruining her son's virginity. She gets acid spewed all over it, and that was really cool, that scene. I actually really enjoyed that, like seeing her skin burn off and stuff like that. I thought that was really effective. And then her friend comes to check on her after that. I would say maybe a day later, 2 days later. I'm just spitballing.
That's a good friend, Kirsten.
Even though she walks into the shittest apartment ever.
She's like walking through this dirty ass apartment with just things everywhere, like these things that look like cobwebs all over the place as well.
I'm sure she's seen it before, but for some reason she walks in and she doesn't know, like, it's like, girl, you in danger. How do you not realize that when you walk in here? And the first thing she says to her friend Casey is, why have you been ignoring me? It's like, why aren't you...
Oh, there's some real fucking idiots in this movie. Good friend discovers the decomposing mum in the bathtub.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about the other one.
Yeah, and she drops her phone in there and she was like, oh, I can't leave my bloody phone here. And she puts her hand in and grabs it out.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not even going to work at this point. It was in with a dead body in the whole bathtub of water. Your phone's gone, dude. Like,
yeah, no amount of rice can help you with that. Like, that is well gone.
That, you know, that's another one down. Casey loses her shit. She goes full bug on this bitch and messes her up with another new superpower. She sprays blue shit all over her.
Casey, even though, like, the good friend dies, Casey was kind of the only one I actually liked in it. Everyone was just so unlikable.
You just don't care about any of them at all. And, like, the worst thing is, too, is that, like, she doesn't mean to kill them either. Like, because she's trying to figure out what's happening with her body, how she can, like, I don't know, keep it at bay, really. Like, it just all, yeah, she just can't seem to control herself, which, yeah, makes it a little bit more tragic.
It's kind of like, it's some serious, I don't know if you would call it plot armor, but they're just dumb for the plot to move forward.
Yeah.
You think, like, we'll go back to the thing. They're not dumb. They never die because they're dumb. They might die because they're afraid or they make a mistake, but they don't die from ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Like, the characters are compelling and they want to survive. These people have as, like, the intelligence of a teaspoon. Let's talk about Jill.
Okay, bloody Jill. The worst person ever.
Out of a movie filled with trash characters, the absolute worst. So yeah, previously, good friend went to Jill's place to be like, "Hey, have you heard from Casey? She's been so distant since the hens party." And Jill's like, "Who cares? It's her problem."
She's like, she did this to herself.
Yeah, Jill is not friends with Casey. Jill just likes Jared.
Yeah, she's a real sack of shit. Oh, and what we haven't covered is that somewhere in this fucking movie, I can't remember what part, we find out that Jill was the one that actually stole Casey's engagement ring at the hens party, and she's been hanging on to it because she's madly in love with Jared. So she's basically trying to sabotage Casey and Jared's relationship the whole way through. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, but then the weirdest thing, like, if you were going to make Casey lose her engagement ring to break her and Jared up, why would you bring the ring home with you? Like, wouldn't you just leave it?
Jill was out to get her the whole time. Like, she's a nasty piece of work. She's tore up from the floor up. Like, she's not cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why would you bring that piece of evidence home? Like,
yeah.
It's a bit like the old Dexter, how he keeps these little blood slides, just as that little trinket of evidence to be like, "Oh, look how crafty and evil I am." Because she's playing with the ring, like, fucking all the time.
yeah, so then the worst friend ever, Jill, then goes and... Okay, so this is when some of the story falls apart too. So she has footage from the found footage aspect of the movie, and then she shows the footage to Jared when Casey kind of gets assaulted, and then Jared's like, "Oh, fuck Casey," and then has sex with Jill in the car. Like, it's like...
It's just ridiculous. So, yeah, what Ryan was just saying there about the whole assault, we see that at the hens party, Casey gets hammered, and kind of like this guy starts creeping on her, and none of her friends do anything to stop it, and he lures her away, and is, yeah, essentially assaulted. We don't see what happens, but she wakes up on the beach the next day, clothes everywhere, has no memory of what happened, and Jill's been holding onto this evidence because of a Jared fetish.
But it's a huge plot hole too, is because we see Casey. It's her camera. We see her get it out of her suitcase and plug it into her computer. But then somehow Jill's got it all.
She's the worst criminal ever. She's just holding on to all her evidence.
Yeah, because it's like, how did Jill get the footage? Like, and then Casey watched it and was like, "Oh man, I've been assaulted." And then it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Even a good little bit of storytelling would have been, it's Jill's camera the whole time, and she's trying to get vision. Like, she keeps pushing Casey to go cheat on Jared, and you see that in the vision. Like, she's trying to do it and then get it on footage so she can show Jared. But it just doesn't make any sense because it's Casey's camera for some reason. And then, yeah, Jill has
See, that's colour me confused, boys. I don't know how any of this is working. Really, they really tried to give us more information with the found footage, but I feel like if it was done differently, and maybe it wasn't us as an omnipresent viewer, like as the viewer being omnipresent and knowing all of this stuff, it would have been more effective. Like if it was like, you know, a police officer going through evidence or, you know, something like that, I feel, you know.
But it's, yeah. So, I mean, at this point, we don't know that she's been assaulted. She's like, oh, look at your fiance. She's off, you know, having a sneaky, sexy time with this stranger on your hand, you know. She's not right for you. I'm right for you. And then, for whatever reason, they go out into Jared's car to get it on. But it's right out front of the apartment where his mum, and his fiance live. You're in a car. You're in a mobile motel. Drive down the block.
Yeah, like even just on the side of the road out the front of the apartments would be better than in the car parks directly near Casey's apartment. Like,
yeah. Or like, have you never heard of dog spotting? Like, surely there's some places where you can bang in your car. Like, you just turn on the ignition and go for a bit of a drive, you know?
yeah.
Like, just drive a block or two up or something, like, or even behind a tree, like, just not within bird's eye view here, or perv's eye view. Am I right, ladies?
So somehow Casey's able to sense this through her spidey senses and does a supersonic shriek, which, because the boyfriend, or the fiancé Jared, and the terrible friend Jill, they're going at it. And then Jill, through the supersonic screech, it makes Jill throw up all over the boyfriend mid-sex. And then the boyfriend throws up. Everyone's being sick. Fucking Casey's throwing up everywhere in her bug lair. These couples are being sick on each other. Everyone's just projecting this entire movie.
I hated it. I wonder what they used for the vomit. It kind of looked like condensed milk.
It could have been, yeah, like a dyed condensed milk to get it, like, I don't know, for some reason I think it's like, is it more green than like white?
I don't know. I didn't look, I can't, like, I'm a sympathy vomiter, so like, I was like, every time somebody would vomit, which was a lot, I was just like, oh!
I'm gonna vomit!
Yeah, like, look away, avert my eyes. My virgin eyes.
Oh.
So I think at this point, that's when Jill does she have like sort of like a sense of remorse? Is that why she goes back to Casey's place to dob herself in?
Yeah.
I think she's went to go like, I slept with your boyfriend, I spewed all over his balls, and I'm here to tell ya that it's over. Like, he's my man.
Yeah, that's what I think she goes to do, is be like, yeah, I slept with your boyfriend and we're going to be together now. Because you suck.
And finally, somebody walks into the house and actually goes, what the fuck is going on here? It only took almost 90 minutes for somebody to walk in and go, what the heck?
Wait a second. Yeah, this isn't how her apartment normally looks.
Yeah, what? Hey.
I love what you've done with the place, Jill. Looks, Casey. Looks so good.
Jill comes in. Casey ties her to a chair or something along those lines. She's stuck on a chair and she's tied up, and she's like, it's really not that bad. People always get sick after vacations. I'm sure they've seen this before.
That's right. She's trying to take she's like, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah, she was like a bit of a scorpion and like I don't know. It was like almost like a zombie vibe too. Like, because she had, like, her skin was decaying. Mm. Yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting design.
Yeah, and Casey goes away for a bit, and Jared rushes in. I don't know what he was planning on doing. Well, yeah, he heard screaming, because Jill started screaming.
Bug Girl makes Jill call out for help, and Jared comes rushing in.
Yes! Yeah, because suddenly he's like, oh, I couldn't go and see you in your apartment, but as soon as Jill throws up on me and starts yelling, I better come running. And then it starts to turn into a bit of a revenge movie. Like if this was like a really, really, really off-Broadway Kill Bill, low-rent Kill Bill. Jill really is a sack of shit. And this is where, like, this point in the movie, I started to think, okay, maybe after they did the reveal and it showed like that she had this horrible experience. Like, maybe there's like a metaphor in here somewhere about shame and how bad events can change you and you can lose yourself, and they're trying to embody that through her physical transformation. Maybe I'm giving them a little bit too much credit here, but
I think you are giving it too much credit.
How does Jill die? I forget. She gets stabbed.
yep, she spews all over him again, and she kisses him while spewing, and it just turns into an all-out brawl. And Casey, mother of bugs, gets her little head stomped in, American History X style.
The boyfriend comes in to the rescue. He gets stabbed in the old tum by a poisonous barb, and somehow gets the upper hand, and just smashes her head into buggy smithereens.
And runs to Mummy's house. Mum, she stabbed me in the belly.
Mother, my fiancée.
She took my virginity and stabbed me in the belly.
I don't think she's the one for me. Her buggy hands touched my pee-pee.
They were slimy and I kind of liked it, but she wouldn't keep going.
Yeah.
The cinematography, though, I will say, I thought the cinematography was very good throughout this whole sequence. It was lit very nicely. It was edited, like the fight scene editing was great. The cinematography was nice. It was the content more than it was the actual like making of the film, if you know what I mean.
It looked good.
It did. I actually have a couple of production notes about the whole crew behind this when we get to the end, but we're nearly there. So anyway, what happens is that Jill, she's dead. Jared, he gets stabbed in the belly by Casey, who's now grown this poisonous barb/tail. And then after Jared murders Casey, he runs back to his own apartment. And there's a bit of a time jump where we then see that basically he's now transforming into this bug, and his apartment is just as disgusting as Casey's. He's now got his own little buggy lair. And then the cops come along. I'm sorry if it seems like I'm trying to rush to the end here, boys. I just want us to finish talking about this fucking movie. So the police come along, and they enter the buggy lair.
And why don't the police have hazmat suits on?
Right?
Oh, so dumb. And then, like half the people are in hazmat suits, and then the two police officers are like, oh no, I can handle this, and just walk into this infection zone.
Well, how would we know they were police, Ryan, if they weren't in police officer outfits?
Yeah.
And he's got bug eggs all inside him, and the eggs come out everywhere, and there's bugs everywhere, and then another lady gets bit by a bug, and the cycle starts all over again. And the scariest bit of the movie happens, the title sequence.
Oh, those credits. Think of like the Conjuring opening credit. It's exactly that. It's so loud and deafening. Yeah, it scares the shit out of you.
The scariest part of the movie.
And that's Bite.
Yeah, and that's Bite. What a slimy ride that was.
Do you guys have any questions about the movie?
Ryan, so many.
Well, I just want to say, like, I was more interested in, like, the police coming in and finding all of this shit everywhere, and it's like if you think about it in the realm of possibilities, that's something you would never think of seeing. I would have been more interested in a movie about that, which doesn't say a lot about this movie, you know? That was more interesting to me than the actual plot. Like, I just started thinking, imagine what it would be like for the police officers. I'm like, that probably wasn't what they wanted me to think about.
I was going to say, and I think the budget's used quite well. They know, like, the movie's obviously like a B-grade, whatever, body horror movie, so they put a lot of the budget towards the props and the makeup, which is what really makes this film work.
Oh, absolutely. They knew their tools and they used them.
Well, your boy Dane Cakes here did a bit of research. And they're a Canadian-based production company called Black Fawn. And this guy who directed it, Chad Archibald, he's the co-owner. And they basically make like a lot of these, -B, C grade type horror movies. Like, they're competent. We all agree it was a competent film. Like, it wasn't shot on a fucking mobile phone or anything. And because it is basically, just shot in, I think, like a total of 3 locations with 10 people.
Yeah.
If you want to make something super disgusting, I suppose you really want to blow your budget on the effects rather than the quality of actors.
So, I mentioned earlier that I heard about this movie because of the vomiting in the movie theatre at the premiere. And the ambulances being called, people fainted, all of that fun stuff. So they actually used that to their advantage in the marketing. They started handing out vomit bags with the Bite branding on it at the different movie showings, which I thought was very clever on their part.
Why not capitalise on the most disgusting marketing trend of that year?
Yeah.
I would be disappointed though, like going to the movie and not vomiting, because then you're like, what am I going to do with this bag?
Put your snacks in it. I have like this intense fear of vomiting, so I was like, I would not be. If that was part of the reason why I didn't watch it initially, because I was like, well, if I'm going to vomit watching this, I'm not fucking watching it.
I'm the same as Ciarin, because I'm a sympathy vomiter, so if someone next to me were to even dry reach, I'd be like, that's fucking me done, boys. I'm out.
I was going to say, I'm kind of the opposite. I got a pretty tough stomach. I can handle, I think, almost anything.
Oh, well, I can't wait to watch Bite 2.
I was going to say, I can't wait to eat those words when we watch some movie that none of us can even watch because it's so horrific.
Bite 2. Bit.
The perfect title.
It achieved a lot for, what was it, a micro budget. It was a tight 90 minutes. There was never sort of a part where nothing really happened. She got into the transformation very quickly, and it got very gross very quickly, and all of that. Like, it's the reviews are kind of mixed, from 1 out of 10s to I think Ciarin was right. Do you find someone that gave it a 10 out of 10, or am I imagining that?
Yeah, I never found any perfect scores for it.
I found someone that gave it a 7. I found someone who gave it a 7.
Rotten Tomatoes has it on 58%, which is at least 50% more than I expected.
That's a respectable, like, for Rotten Tomatoes, that's pretty respectable. I mean, I did see on Google it was like 70% of people like this film, and I was like, excuse me?
The 3 of us kind of found the same thing, that the director, Chad Archibald, he had his wedding night the night of the movie premiere, and his bride went and threw the bouquet to the screening audience.
Well, that's lovely. I actually really like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
From the interviews I watched of Chad, I think he seems like a pretty decent guy. Like, he seems to actually kind of care about his movies, because it's all done in-house under this production company, because we've all seen a lot of dog shit that we've said a whole bunch of times, but the production of it all and the special effects were something impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think his direction's pretty good, considering what he was working with. Obviously a low budget, but yeah, like, the main actress is solid, and the most important aspect of the movie is kind of the body horror bits, and they're all awesome. The story, yeah, like, I don't believe he wrote the script. I think a lot of the problems I have with the movie are with the script and the actual story, as well as character motivations and things. But that's not really on him. I think he did pretty good with what he was working with. I think he did quite well.
No, he wrote the treatment, but somebody else wrote the script. So, in your perusing, boys, did you see any reviews that just tickled you a little bit?
My favourite review I found, it was a 2-starer, and it said, I've seen a lot of films that are far worse.
I have a great one from Letterboxd. So this is a 1-star review from Pagaya, and her review is, Sis was going to marry that man after he brought home some gross-ass crusty old high chair. His mother was treating her like shit, and she didn't even try out that dick game. That's brave. 1 star.
That's so good.
So, yeah, I think that's my favourite I saw.
That one is amazing. I've got a couple. The first one I found, I was on rogerebert.com, because I love reading the content on there. And one thing was like, the fact that anyone would walk into her cocoon apartment and not just scream and run away stretches logic. Although the film is arguably at its best when it embraces its own ridiculousness. I don't really think it did embrace the ridiculousness at all. But yeah, it was a big stretch of logic there. For sure. I took umbrage with their nonchalant attitude.
Everyone is so fine with these apartments being like shit. Oh.
My favorite that I found was by far this one that I found on IMDb. It was a 1 star. I thought hospitals in Canada have great medical services. They did a real number on the apartment. Looks like it was filmed by Renton inside the worst toilet in Scotland. I love a train spotting reference.
I was going to say, that's a train spotting reference, right? Yeah.
After he took a big heroin shit in it.
I suppose I should ask the question, would you guys recommend people watch this?
No, never. Don't watch it.
No, there's better body horror. Just watch The Thing. I fucking love The Thing. Just watch that.
I don't know. It's commendable for the budget. I think we said that enough. Like, they've done really well with it. I don't know. It's a brisk 90 minutes, which is good. It doesn't feel like it drags, but I don't know. There's a lot of other movies you could be watching instead.
Well, on that note, Ryan, what movie would you kind of compare this to? So if you liked this movie, you like blah, blah, blah.
Well, for me, I was going to say if you like Teeth and if you like Cabin Fever.
Oh, Cabin Fever. Yeah, I see that.
How dare you bring up Teeth to me?
Sorry, mate. Which, yeah, if you like body horror, it's actually pretty... From what I remember, it wasn't actually too bad for me. I could sit through it. And, like, yeah, its budget's still relatively low, but from what I remember, the acting and the characters were a lot better. The story was a lot better from that. Yeah, and Cabin Fever is a pretty good example of a reasonably recent body horror film.
I was going to say, you know, if you liked The Fly, then you would like Bite, because it's just gross. Obviously, it's not as good as The Fly, but if you're into that type of, like, insecty transformation thing, that would certainly work for you. But also, there's another BC movie that I've watched recently. It's called Borderlands. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I've never even heard of Borderlands. What is that?
Extremely low budget with a pretty gross ending. And I think if you've seen Borderlands, then this would be a good follow-up. It's equally as confusing as Borderlands and just as gross.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
And it's like 2 priests trying to do like a exorcism on a building and in the middle of nowhere, and it's all found footage. Like, it's all filmed on security cameras and stuff like that. It was equally as confusing, and the ending was just as gross.
Awesome. What about you, Dano?
Yeah, look, The Fly, Tusk, I've seen little bits and pieces of that. I guess Teeth. Fuck you, Ryan, for bringing up Teeth to me. I'd forgotten about that awful movie. So, yeah, I guess that, but I just can never go past The Thing. I just adore The Thing with all my heart, so...
I don't think there's any arguments here, that The Thing's not fantastic.
Good recommendation.
Alrighty, well, I guess that what I do is I've got a special little film lined up for us next week that I'm keen for us to get chatting about. We're going to be watching Spiral from the Book of Saw. It's going to be interesting for me because I have never seen a Saw.
You never seen a Saw? A seesaw?
I've never seen Saw. So
You had a rough childhood, didn't you, Dane?
He was too big. He was too big to play on the seesaw. With his giant head and tiny mouth.
Oh, you bastard! I know you guys have seen Saw. I haven't, so I'm guessing that my opinion could be drastically different. But, yeah, who knows? We'll see.
I'm excited.
Sounds good. Sounds interesting.
Well, thank you very much for watching this movie with me, boys. I love you very much, and you're both very groovy.
You're welcome, Ciarin. Thanks for wasting 90 minutes of my life on the most disgusting movie I've seen.
I enjoyed your recommendation, Ciarin.
Thank you.
I thought it was quite an interesting movie.
I will never watch it again.
I will never watch it again either.
Alrighty, until next time.
Bye, boys.
See you guys. Bye.